The most dangerous thing for your brain is sugar and starch. Those cause inflammation in the brain. They cause dementia. They cause depression. They cause behavior issues. They're really nasty for the brain.
What if I told you the foods you've been eating every day are slowly damaging your brain? The morning toast, the afternoon cookie, the evening pasta. They're not just adding inches to your waistline. They're rewiring your neural pathways in frightening ways. I'm going to reveal the shocking truth about sugar and starch that food companies don't want you to know. By the end of this, you'll understand the 3 devastating mechanisms through which these everyday foods are sabotaging your mental health, memory, and mood, and why doctors are now calling Alzheimer's disease type 3 diabetes. You'll also discover why those mysterious afternoon energy crashes happen regardless of how much sleep you get, and the hidden reason why depression rates have skyrocketed alongside our consumption of refined carbohydrates. Have you ever wondered why you can't shake that brain fog no matter what you try? Stay with me, the answer might surprise you. For decades, we've been told that fat is the enemy. We've dutifully filled our plates with heart-healthy whole grains and reduced fat products, never realizing that these supposedly healthy choices were often loaded with sugar and refined starches. The result? Despite our best efforts to eat right, rates of obesity, diabetes, and, most alarmingly, neurological disorders have exploded. I spent years researching the connection between what we eat and how our brains function. What I discovered was so troubling that I had to completely transform my own diet and share this information with as many people as possible. The first shocking revelation came when I learned about the inflammatory cascade that begins the moment sugar touches your tongue. The first way sugar and starch damage your brain is through chronic inflammation, perhaps the most under-recognized threat to your cognitive health. Picture this. You bite into a donut. Within minutes, your bloodstream floods with glucose. Your body wasn't designed to handle this sudden rush, so your pancreas frantically pumps out insulin to manage the crisis. But here's what nobody tells you. This isn't just happening in your body, it's happening in your brain. When this glucose-insulin roller coaster repeats day after day, meal after meal, something insidious occurs. Your cells start ignoring insulin signals. They've heard the alarm too many times. This is insulin resistance, and it creates the perfect storm for brain inflammation. But wait, it gets worse. Those excess glucose molecules floating in your bloodstream aren't just passive bystanders. They're actively attaching themselves to proteins in your body through a process called glycation. The result? Advanced glycation end products, appropriately abbreviated as AGEs. These compounds literally age you from the inside out, triggering inflammatory responses throughout your body and brain. Have you ever noticed how a cut becomes red, hot, and swollen? That's acute inflammation helpful for fighting infections. But the inflammation triggered by sugar is different. It's low-grade, chronic, and silent smoldering beneath the surface for years before you notice any symptoms. In your brain, this inflammation activates specialized immune cells called microglia. When chronically activated, these cells release a flood of inflammatory compounds that damage neurons and their connections. It's like having tiny fires burning throughout your neural networks, slowly destroying the very infrastructure your thoughts depend on. You might be thinking, but I don't eat that much sugar. Here's the shocking truth. Those healthy whole grain crackers, that brown rice, that multigrain bread, they convert to glucose in your bloodstream almost as quickly as table sugar. This brings me to the second devastating mechanism, and it's the reason neurologists have coined a disturbing new term for Alzheimer's disease. Did you know your brain consumes a staggering 20% of your body's energy despite being only 2% of your body weight? It's an energy-hungry organ that primarily runs on glucose. But what happens when your brain cells become resistant to insulin? Something truly terrifying. Despite being surrounded by glucose, your neurons can't access it efficiently. They literally starve in the midst of plenty. This energy crisis forces brain cells to wither and die. Connections critical for memory and cognition deteriorate. This phenomenon is so significant that researchers now refer to Alzheimer's disease as type 3 diabetes. The connection is that strong. I remember reading a study from Brown University that showed people with type 2 diabetes have nearly double the risk of developing Alzheimer's. At first, I thought it might be coincidence, but then I discovered the mechanisms behind this connection and everything changed. When your brain becomes insulin resistant, it can't properly clear away toxic proteins like amyloid beta and tau, the notorious clumps found in the brains of Alzheimer's patients. Think of these proteins as garbage that needs to be regularly removed for your brain to function properly. Inflammation disrupts this vital cleanup process. The trash accumulates. Neural pathways become blocked. Communication between brain cells breaks down. But here's what's truly frightening. You feel this long before full-blown dementia develops. Those moments of forgetfulness, the brain fog after lunch, your difficulty focusing during important meetings, these might be early warning signs. You might be wondering, is this just about the long-term risk of dementia? Absolutely not. The damage is happening right now, affecting your mood in ways you've probably never suspected. Have you ever watched children after a birthday party, bouncing off the walls from sugar only to crash into tears and tantrums an hour later? Adults aren't immune to these effects. We're just better at hiding them. The third devastating mechanism connects sugar consumption to depression, anxiety, and mood disorders, and it goes through a surprising place: your gut. Your intestines are home to trillions of bacteria that communicate directly with your brain through what scientists call the gut-brain axis. This isn't some fringe theory, it's established neuroscience. Sugar and refined starches disrupt this delicate bacterial balance, increasing intestinal permeability, commonly called leaky gut. This allows inflammatory molecules to escape your digestive tract, enter your bloodstream, and potentially cross the blood-brain barrier. The result? A brain bathed in inflammatory compounds that interfere with the production and function of crucial, mood-regulating neurotransmitters. Here's something that shocked me. Up to 90% of your body's serotonin, the happiness hormone, is produced in your gut. When your gut microbiome is compromised by a high sugar diet, so is your brain's access to these essential neurochemicals. I spoke with a woman named Sarah who had struggled with treatment-resistant depression for over a decade. She'd tried numerous medications with little relief. Then her doctor suggested an elimination diet that removed sugar and refined carbohydrates. Within 6 weeks, her symptoms improved more than they had in 10 years of conventional treatment. 6 months later, she described herself as a completely different person. But that's not all. There's another immediate effect that's sabotaging your productivity, focus, and willpower every single day. You know the feeling. You're energized and productive after breakfast. Then lunch rolls around. Maybe a sandwich on white bread, or pasta, or rice foods we've been told are perfectly healthy. 90 minutes later, you're fighting to keep your eyes open during an important meeting. This isn't just tiredness. It's your brain experiencing acute energy fluctuations caused by blood sugar volatility. The spike after eating triggers an initially pleasant rush. Your brain is temporarily flush with glucose, its primary fuel. You feel good, alert, focused. Then comes the crash. Your insulin response overcorrects, pulling too much glucose from your bloodstream. Suddenly, your brain is starving for energy. You become irritable. Concentration becomes impossible. Your mental processing slows to a crawl. This roller coaster doesn't just affect how you feel, it impacts every decision you make. Did you know that judges give harsher sentences before lunch when their blood sugar is low? That students perform worse on tests during blood sugar crashes? That people make poorer financial decisions during these valleys? Your cognition, willpower, emotional regulation, they're all hostage to these fluctuations. And if you're eating the standard Western diet, this is happening multiple times every single day. But here's what makes this truly insidious. This roller coaster creates a vicious cycle that's shockingly similar to addiction. Sugar activates the same reward pathways in your brain as cocaine and heroin. I'm not being hyperbolic. This is what the neuroimaging shows. When you consume sugar, your brain releases dopamine, the neurotransmitter associated with pleasure and reward. With repeated exposure, your brain adapts by reducing dopamine receptors. This creates tolerance. You need more sugar to get the same pleasurable effect. Sound familiar? It should. It's the same process that underlies all addictive behaviors. But unlike drugs, sugar is everywhere. It's socially acceptable. It's cheap. It's even celebrated at birthdays, holidays, and special occasions. And here's the trap that keeps you coming back. When your blood sugar crashes, your body and brain scream for the fastest source of glucose they can get. What's the fastest source? More sugar and starch. The very things that caused the crash in the first place. This creates a self-perpetuating cycle that's extraordinarily difficult to break. Your brain has been hijacked. I once worked with a client who described his relationship with bread as more powerful than any romantic relationship he'd ever had. He wasn't joking. The pull of these foods can be that strong. Every time you experience a sugar crash, your cognitive function drops dramatically. Your working memory weakens, your attention span shrinks, your impulse control falters, your emotional regulation destabilizes. You become a diminished version of yourself. But before you despair, let me share the most important discovery I made in all my research. Your brain possesses remarkable neuroplasticity, the ability to heal and rewire itself when given the right environment. The damage from years of high sugar consumption isn't necessarily permanent. When you reduce sugar and refined starches, several remarkable things happen. First, inflammation begins subsiding within days. Many people report mental clarity improvements within a single week of changing their diet. Second, insulin sensitivity improves within weeks. Your brain cells gradually regain their ability to utilize glucose properly, restoring energy to neurons that have been struggling to function. Third, your gut microbiome begins to rebalance, allowing for proper production of mood-regulating neurotransmitters. Many people experience emotional stability they haven't felt in years. Fourth, the blood sugar roller coaster smooths out. Without the dramatic spikes and crashes, your energy, focus, and mood remain consistent throughout the day. Finally, as dopamine receptors regenerate, food cravings diminish. What once seemed impossible, passing up bread, pasta, or dessert, gradually becomes manageable, even easy. I've seen people who struggled with debilitating brain fog for decades find relief within months. I've watched cognitive function improve in seniors who were showing early signs of decline. I've seen depression lift without medication. The transformation can be profound, but I won't sugarcoat it. Breaking free from the grip of sugar and starch isn't easy. The initial withdrawal can be uncomfortable. The cravings can be intense. Our food environment is designed to keep you consuming these substances. Yet the reward for pushing through is nothing less than reclaiming your brain's full potential. Remember those 3 devastating mechanisms I promised to reveal? The inflammatory cascade that damages neural connections. The insulin resistance that starves your brain cells and promotes Alzheimer's disease. The gut-brain disruption that undermines your mood and mental health. These aren't separate issues, they're interconnected processes triggered by the same dietary choices. And remember that brain fog and those mysterious afternoon energy crashes I mentioned at the beginning. Now you understand their direct consequences of blood sugar volatility and the neuroinflammation triggered by your morning muffin or lunchtime sandwich. Your brain is the command center for everything you experience. It determines how you think, feel, and interact with the world. It shapes your work, your relationships, your very sense of self. Doesn't it deserve better than being marinated in sugar? Imagine waking up with mental clarity that stays consistent throughout the day. Picture yourself handling stress with emotional resilience. Envision maintaining sharp focus without the need for constant stimulants. This isn't just about preventing dementia decades from now, though that's certainly important. It's about how you feel and function tomorrow, next week, and next month. The choice, as always, is yours. But now you know what's really happening inside your brain when you reach for that cookie or that bowl of pasta. Knowledge is power. And in this case, it might be the power that saves your brain. What small change will you make today?